I'm grateful for the invitation to the Cyprus Summit and hope that this will be a successful event as it has started to be. As mentioned, the last 2 years have been dramatic in changing the dynamics of the geopolitical structures in the Middle East. They've been a painful reminder of the human toll that is taken by the continuation of the conflict, and it has increased the sense of insecurity and instability overall in the region. And I believe that any future perspective has to be taken into account the various dynamics and developments, not only the situation in Gaza, but the conditions in the West Bank, the projection of Israeli military power beyond its immediate vicinity, its military activity as relates to Syria, Yemen, Iran, and elsewhere. But having said that, definitely the 20-point peace plan that was proposed by President Trump brought to an end the very painful military conflict in Gaza and the subsequent impact on the Palestinians in Gaza, which is absolutely apocalyptic in its nature. Estimates 90% of all dwellings have been demolished, over 65 to 70,000 have been killed, 20,000 children in the process, and the famine and hunger that exists. So putting an end to the military activity by both sides agreeing to what is primarily a ceasefire that was much needed, that both sides seem to be adhering to, despite the constant or continuing military actions by both, but it is the insistence. I think the most predominant issue is what constitutes U.S. policy. This is probably the first time in the history of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict where the United States has demonstrated a political will to enforce a resolution, even though partial, to the ongoing conflict, and its ability to leverage the Israeli position to acquiesce to the proposal and to accept its implementation. Now, whether that goes further in how the peace plan will be implemented, and as the conventional saying goes, the devil is in the details, and it is quite an intricate proposal in terms of demilitarization of Gaza, in terms of governance, in terms of reconstruction, in meeting the humanitarian needs of the population, and in maintaining a sense of accountability so that the rule-based international order continues to be supported. There's a degree, I believe, of impunity related to much of the military activity that has been undertaken, and without addressing these issues, the agreement in itself does not foreclose the need that the international community upholds what is deemed as the commonality of values, and takes steps to uphold the decisions of the ICJ and to uphold the principles of human rights and the rights of the Palestinian people. Now, the end of the conflict is something that we have sought for decades, and it is certainly not going to be achieved by purely addressing the conditions and the situation that exists in Gaza. And it is somewhat worrying that the aspirations and the rights of the Palestinian people were contained as seems an afterthought into the 20-point plan. It came right at the end, and the conditions associated with the path towards the implementation of the Palestinian self-determination and statehood are certainly not in conformity with the international community's overall consensus in this regard. Again, the issue of further recognition of the Palestinian state by some important members of the international community is a welcome development, but how is it going to be translated into practical measures that might encourage here the Israeli government that has very explicitly indicated its refusal of any form of Palestinian statehood. So how is that recognition going to be translated into practical measures, tangible measures to facilitate what is the international consensus related to the recognition of a Palestinian state? Again, conditionality is related to the Palestinian Authority. Now, the Palestinian Authority, as Minister Libni has indicated, does constitute the moderate segment of the Palestinian Authority, one that has been undermined consistently by the Israeli government, by incursions into the West Bank, by withholding of taxes, by constant pressures, and now, again, the highlighting of the need for reform. Reform on what basis and what is the criteria, and when will the international community consider that that reform has been undertaken, is all very vague, even in the 20-point plan. It doesn't really set out the parameters or the criteria for what would constitute that reform and its acceptance. So again, it seems to be a subjective issue that's going to be tailored to political considerations rather than any structural dynamics. Again, it is a starting point, and if we necessarily have to deal with this current situation in Gaza, that it should catapult into a more active and determined role by this US administration to go beyond Gaza and to deal with the fundamental underlying issues related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, primarily the creation of a Palestinian state. The United States is able, as has been demonstrated, to extract from both sides the necessary compromise and acceptance of what is deemed, and I won't say equitable, because there is no equitability when it comes to any comparison between the state of Israel with its institutional abilities and its military capabilities and the Palestinian Authority or the Palestinians who are still under the blunt occupation of Israel. But again, it does give us hope, but I think we also have to be cognizant of the many hurdles that we're going to have to deal with, first of all, to implement all of the various segments of the 20-point plan, and that we do so in a manner that does not cause the separation between Gaza and the West Bank, and thereby, I think, consolidate an objective of Israel over the last decades, is primarily to have created this division and to have utilized this division as a way to offset the potential of the creation of a Palestinian state. Thank you.